The nathrezim have been around since forever as one of the most intelligent and devious demons in the entire universe. However, some information recently was datamined, so big spoiler alert, they seem to have been way more important than anyone had ever anticipated. From this spoiler, there are hints that these guys are behind everything that happened, from the Titans to the Legion to the current events, and that they might not even be demons in the first place. So, what is this new information that we have about the Dreadlords? Brought to you by Gamivo.com. Get the cheapest game time on the market, as well as other Warcraft products. Check out the link in the description below. So, everything starts with a recently datamined book called Enemy Infiltration, Preface, which is written by an unknown character, but there are heavy hints that is actually a Dreadlord behind the writing, and it is probably one of the biggest lore breakthroughs in years that we've had, and it could literally change everything. It would shake the lore to the core. It seems like a nathrezim is writing to the jailer, and that the jailer might be their creator or someone else from the Shadowlands, as they mention the solemn duty for which you Sargeras, referencing either their original maker or their master. Now, from this book, it seems like there is actually no big bad guy as we once thought. First, we thought it was the Legion, then the Voidlords, but now it seems like there are just all of these opposing forces on the cosmology chart, and that they're battling for supremacy constantly, so it is just one gigantic struggle for power. The alleged Dreadlord reports on this. First, he says that the Titans are the easiest to take care of because they have a single goal to create order, and by showing them a force that opposes that, they can be driven insane, which actually brings us full circle to the retcon lore that the Dreadlords originally corrupted Sargeras. All they had to do was present the Voidlords as a completely opposing force, complete disorder, which would then use Sargeras' massive power to battle everyone else, while at the same time strengthening the realm of death. We knew from the Chronicle that Sargeras interrogated the Dreadlords when he came to the realization, and through them learned about the Void, starting his burning crusade, which from this point seems like just one big ruse. Second, they talk about the Voidlords and how they welcome them with open arms, but instead, because the Void wants to present the 1,000 truths, they ignore the lies created by these agents. So they have been playing with the Void as well. Then, the forces of the light are said to be as easy as the Titans to manipulate due to their single blind purpose, and even more importantly, they mention that the light has converted one of their own, gaining their trust that they can exploit later on, most likely hinting at the converted nathrezim Lothraxxion, which might be shifting some allegiances quite soon. This wouldn't be surprising at all, as Dreadlords have betrayed us in the past, even though we trusted them, for example with the entire Vratgate scenario. Lastly, in the book, they mention how life is the hardest to manipulate and how life is the opposite to their own nature, which would imply that the Dreadlords in question are indeed servants of death and possibly the jailer, so they're the opposite to life. What is really interesting is that when you think of a Dreadlord, you think of a spy of the Burning Legion, but from this little document, it seems like they never actually served the Legion in the first place, that they have been behind essentially everything that happened, and that they have played Sargeras for thousands of years, like 25,000 years plus. They even mentioned that consuming fell energy is not a pleasant process, but a necessary one, which adds to the theory that they willingly became demons just to get closer to Sargeras and to fulfill Jailer's wishes. All of this new information could be the missing link between the Jailer, Sargeras, and Arthas. We know that the Dreadlords crafted the armor through Kil'jaeden and gave it to Ner'zhul, but what if they played both Arthas, Ner'zhul, and Kil'jaeden and actually got the creation of the Burning Legion, the Lich King, to become an entry point of the Jailer and essentially his manifestation and avatar in the mortal world? If all of this is true, it would be huge. It would essentially change the lore forever. It would mean that Arthas was literally more powerful than the Legion and Sargeras, or at least he had a bigger power backing him up. It would also mean that Sargeras and his endless demonic army, this massive threat, was not nearly as important as we once thought, and that he was just played for a fool, and it was the Dreadlords creating chaos and getting everyone to battle each other, to strengthen death and to weaken themselves. Another very interesting bit that ties in with all of this is Il'gynoth's whisper saying, "The cunning ones kneel before 6 masters but serve only one." The cunning ones would obviously be the Dreadlords, and the only master would be death, and the other masters would be the rest of the cosmological forces in the universe that they have been manipulating. What this could also mean is that the masters they serve is themselves, or they might even be some other connection, that Sire Denatrius, the creator of Revendreth, could be their master, and that the winged Dreadlords are just fell-infused inhabitants of Revendreth. This could mean that they might also be manipulating fighting the jailer, which makes this entire thing just completely confusing. At this point in time, none of this is actually confirmed, but there are heavy hints that these are the nathrezim in question, and honestly, this completely caught me off guard. We always knew that these were cunning creatures, powerful and devious, but no one expected them to be pulling all the strings in the universe and to be manipulating even the Burning Legion and the Warlords and then just using them as tools. If all of this is true, the whole story behind Warcraft is changing completely, and almost every event that happened, every war, every battle, and every death will have an entirely different meaning. Thank you for watching. Check out why Artist is so important by clicking on the screen, and also check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history and science. See you next time.